Welcome, one and all, to the mystical world of Filbar. Adventures abound throughout this realm, and we appreciate the opportunity to regale you with some stories from these trails. These accounts are all based on actual RPG experiences that occurred within Adventures in Filbar. Some of these tales may be for mature audiences, while others may be for very immature audiences. We now present the sage Mikas Tumo from Tamel, also known as the Bard of Filbar.
Welcome to session Fartook-111. Previously, our group found themselves stuck in the middle of Debut Woods, which was reputed to be haunted. With their adventurers' tent set up, they had secured a decent campsite and only posted one guard at the door. The early hours of slumber presented a unique opportunity to Bulger, the former sailor. A will-o'-the-wisp entered the clearing and beckoned the gnome. Assistance was quickly garnered from Cabe Silvertongue, who recognized the phantasm, and the pair stayed within the tent as observers before the shining orb left the area. A few hours later, Lady Irena spied a group of clacking skeletons meander down the trail before dawn. We rejoin the group as they break camp and begin to move towards Haddonfield. With everything packed, the group mounted up and headed back onto the trail towards their destination. An hour into their travels, they came across several skeletal corpses in clothes of merchants. Stopping to examine the strange sight, Lady Irena pointed out that it was the same group that she had observed earlier. A chorus of questions peppered the elven mage, and she regaled the group with her observations from her early hours of her watch. "You mean these damn things were walking around just like we are?" asked Bulger. A nod from the Leith wizard caused a furrowed brow on the former sailor, who quickly dismounted. Puzzled at the squat delver's actions, the rest of the group watched as he cautiously approached the bones and kicked them with his feet. Bulger, now confident that the bones were inanimate, proceeded to give several skulls the boot. He kicked some into the underbrush and smashed several others. Angry at the disruption of bones, Sister Elaine called him out on his behavior. The pair got into a heated spat on the merits of decapitating the dead for several minutes until Fargus called for it to end. "Let's just move on," said the ranger as he began to move his mount down the trail. Sister Elaine and Bulger agreed to disagree and remounted their animals and followed the group down the path. An hour later, Fargus held his hand up calling for everyone to stop and waved Cabe to the front. Whispering, the human asked him if he could hear anything and was given a nod in reciprocation. The adventurers dismounted and slowly moved forward, discovering the opening in the forest to some foothills. Peeking out from their concealed position, the group observed several merchants with donkeys and ponies headed into Debut Woods. A sigh of relief escaped Fargus's mouth, and he began to rise to greet the merchants, but was stopped by Cabe. The bard pointed to a clump of bushes on one side of the hills, but the ranger did not immediately spot the problem. The half-elf quickly waved Lady Irena and pointed. A nod confirmed she noticed the issue and began to move her hands to prepare a spell. The others observed the actions and knew what her course of action was going to be and quickly armed themselves. The merchants carefully made their way down a loose incline and reached the entrance to the woods. The mage fired off several magic missiles into the brush as a group of bugbears emerged. The merchants were caught off guard, and the throttled war cries escaped the bugbears, and the party charged out of their concealed position. With Cabe, Fargus, and Sister Elaine leading the charge, the bugbears became confused at the new threat. Several of the large creatures bolted in retreat, while a trio of injured ones pressed the party's advantage. Striking quickly, the three adventurers made first contact, with two of the three being successful in their attacks. As the bugbears retaliated, Sister Elaine and Fargus both took Morningstar strikes from their opponents, causing some injury. Bulger finally caught up and added his own strike to Cabe's bugbear, opening a large gash in the creature. Lady Irena ran to the frightened merchants and told them to stay back as they were among friends. Petrified by the lightning-fast charge in the environment, the men and women nodded in fear as the Delver stood between them and the large humanoids. One bugbear smashed the handle of his weapon into Bulger's face, cutting the gnome's lip for his attack. But that opened up to Cabe's coup de grace with a pair of short swords finding both sides of the creature's neck and slicing off its head, which landed into the sailor's lap. Fargus kicked at the knee of his bugbear, causing it to crumple into the other one, which caused it to miss Sister Elaine. Her follow-up smashed the creature in the mouth, causing blood and teeth to spray everywhere. Fargus's follow-up strike under its paltry armor severed its heart, causing blood to spray out before it collapsed dead. The bugbear that Fargus had knocked over attempted to scurry away, but a soft glow surrounded its body, and it appeared to be frozen in place. A quick check behind them found Lady Irena holding her hands in a choking grip and obviously in the middle of a concentration spell. Cabe asked if she had the creature and received a nod of assurance. Walking over to the creature, Cabe quickly slit its throat and the mage released her spell, but was quite upset. "Seriously? You just killed the thing? Did you ever think to ask if there were more of them out there?" The mage was quite upset, but the bard was nonplussed. "Question it? That thing and its friends were going to rob those merchants and kill us. No, I had no intention of questioning it. Besides, anyone here speak their language?" screamed Cabe. With the group shaking their heads, Lady Irena softened her tone. "Fair enough. I had not considered that aspect of communication," she conceded, and returned her gaze to the merchants, who were still in a state of shock. Bulger and Cabe began to pick over the bodies and inspect the rest of the clan still running along the hills as the three approached the merchants. "Are you okay?" inquired the cleric. Nodding confirmed that the day's travelers had not been harmed but were all stunned. A brief discussion ensued, and the party confirmed with the merchants that they would be in Haddonfield by the end of the night. The people confirmed that they were taking their wares east to sell and were quite appreciative of the party's swift response. A collection was taken up, and the shopkeepers offered the party a reward of several coins, but it was declined. Bulger and Cabe returned holding a collection of lapis chips that they had recovered from the bugbears, stating that the merchants owed them nothing. Sister Elaine pointed out that the group should hurry and not dawdle in the woods, as they were indeed haunted. One woman inquired if they would be clearing the forest, but Lady Irena explained that they had to get to Phoenix for pressing business. The merchants thanked the party again and were asked to tell Lord Nacco that they had made it through safely. The men and women promised that the message would be delivered and quickly lunged into the dark woods to avoid further issue.
We close out this episode now and give you our thanks for listening. Please subscribe to this podcast and don't forget to follow us on Twitter at The Bards Podcast. For everyone in Adventures of Filbar, thanks for listening.